Welcome to the Apartment Investor Pro podcast, where we talk about how to be a more successful multifamily investor with a focus on using technology to boost your business. And now your host, Todd Heitner.
Welcome to the Apartment Investor Pro podcast. Today I'll be interviewing Rod Khleif about mindset. Rod Khleif is one of America's top real estate investment and business development trainers, an entrepreneur, author, and community philanthropist who's passionate about business, life, success, and giving back. Rod has personally owned and managed over 2,000 properties. And this week, I'm sharing with you his powerful experience, including successes and failures, so you can put that experience to work for you. We'll be talking all about how the right mindset is a key to multifamily success. Today, you'll learn how Rod went from being a broke immigrant to being a real estate mogul. We'll learn some of the challenges people deal with when it comes to their multifamily mindset and then how to overcome those. We'll talk about overcoming analysis paralysis and taking that first step, and how to switch your mindset from a regular job or single family investor to a multifamily entrepreneur. So let's get started. So I have Rod Khleif with me today. So Rod, thanks for joining me today. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm fantastic. Todd. Thanks for having me on. Let's have a lot of fun today and see if maybe we can even add some value. Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, sounds good. All right. Well, we're talking all about mindset today, and I know you have a really interesting story. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and why mindset has been so important to you?
Sure. Well, frankly, it's my belief that 80 to 90% of a person's success in anything is mindset and psychology. Only 10 to 20% is the mechanical information, the vehicle, as it were. If it's, real estate or entrepreneurship or, whatever it is, that's just the smallest percent of it. It really is having the right psychology to actually take action, to push through fear, to push through limiting beliefs, to, maybe get uncomfortable. And so my story really started when I was 6 years old. I immigrated to this country from the Netherlands. I was born in Holland, wooden shoes and windmills. And we immigrated with my brother Albert, my mother's Vancia. We ended up in Denver, Colorado, and we really struggled. My mom babysat kids so we'd have enough money to eat, but I remember eating expired food, and we had powdered milk with cereal in the morning, which, by the way, is just terrible. And we had, I wore hand-me-down clothes from the Goodwill and the Salvation Army all the way through junior high school. I know other people have had it harder than we did. And, we had love and we had all the things that were important, but I knew I wanted more. And luckily, like I said, my mom had an incredible work ethic. She babysat kids so we'd have enough money to eat. And she was actually a bit of an entrepreneur. With her babysitting money, she bought the house across the street from us when I was about 14 for around $30,000. And then she told me a couple of years later, she'd made $20,000 in her sleep. And I'm like, what? Screw college, Mom. I'm not doing college. I'm going to get into real estate. So I got my real estate broker's license right when I turned 18, and I was going to sell people houses. Well, my first year, I made about $8,000. My second year, maybe $10,000. But my third year, I made well over $100,000. And so what happened between year 2 and year 3? Well, what happened was what we just started talking about was I met someone that taught me about the importance of mindset and psychology. And, and it had a huge impact on my life and my success. And fast forward to today, I've owned a couple thousand houses. I've rented long-term, done thousands of apartment units. In fact, we just went under contract on a complex last night in San Antonio, 269 unit B-class asset, beautiful asset. But in 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept. And, if you want to do the math on that, it's like $8,300 an hour on a 40-hour work week, which of course I did and bragged about. And I thought I was a freaking real estate god. And, when that happens, God or the universe or whatever you believe will give you a nice little smackdown. Well, that was 2008. I lost that 17 million and a lot more. I lost everything. I lost $50 million conservatively. And so one of the things I enjoy talking about, Todd, is the mindset it took to have 50 million to lose in the first place. But maybe as important or more importantly is the mindset it took to recover from losing that. And so I'm happy to drill down on that with you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I'd like to hear about that, like how you went from that 8,000 to more, from with real estate. Then up
sure.
To
Yeah, it really is. It's focus. It's knowing what it is that you want. For me to recover from it was reassociating with what I wanted and why I wanted it. And so, if you come to one of my boot camps, the first hour and 20 minutes is a goal setting workshop. It's kind of really, I call it goal setting on steroids. And it probably would be helpful for me to at least describe the process with you. I think that would add value to your listeners, watchers, because it's such a powerful exercise. And if you want me to, if after this you want me to guide you through this, if you DM me on any social channel, and I'm on every single one of them, even TikTok now, believe it or not, my team's got me on there. But if you DM me, I'll send you the link to it. I did it on January 2nd of this year before I did it on the 1st, but I do it every year, to do your goals at the start of the year. And I give you a guide. It's a free guide you can walk through, and music, and it's real professionally done. It's real nice. So if you DM me, I'll give you the access so I can guide you through this. It's a very powerful process, but let me describe it. I mean, if you'd like, would you want me to do that, Todd? Okay. All right. So, you pick an hour when you have a lot of energy, and you sit down and write down everything you could ever possibly want in life, all the stuff. And there's nothing wrong with stuff. And so the houses, the cars, the boats, the jet skis, the planes, just write it all down. But here's the thing, take the lid off your brain. Imagine if you write it down, you're going to get it, which is not outside the realm of reality, because what that does, just writing it down, triggers something in your brain called your reticular activating system. And that's that filter that filters out subconsciously what your brain thinks is most important to you. You're not conscious of this. But the greatest example of this is when you first buy a car. You never really notice them. You buy the car, you see them everywhere. And of course, they were there before. You just didn't notice them. So that's your reticular activating system. But again, take the lid off your brain. If you want a private island, a jet, a yacht, write it down, because there's nothing you can't do, be, or have in this world. You just have to declare it and decide and take action. That's it. And so write everything you can think of. Write down how much money you want from your multifamily investing career, either passively or actively, monthly, maybe, or yearly, whatever. How much you're going to have in 3 years in monthly income? How much you're going to have in 10 years in monthly income? Write that down. Write down how much money you're going to have in the bank, in case what hits the fan fund, how much you're going to have in 3 years, how much you're going to have in 10 years. Write that down. Also write down everything you want to do in this lifetime. Maybe you want to write a book, maybe travel. Where do you want to travel? Where do you want to have a second home, third home, whatever? Write that down. I have a friend that's climbing every mountain over 14,000 feet in the whole world. Whatever it is for you that you want to do, write that down. So it's not just the stuff. I jumped out of a perfectly good airplane a year ago. Never freaking do it again, but it's off the list, right? So again, put that stuff down. Also write down everything you want to learn in this lifetime. Now, if you want to learn multifamily, for God's sakes, come to one of my boot camps, and I'll give your listeners a code here, because I do these 2-day boot camps. I used to do 3-day live events. In fact, I had 800 people scheduled for Orlando last May. We all know what happened with that. And I was freaking out. It's like, what am I going to do now? And so we went live stream, and I built a studio here at my compound here in Sarasota. And we've had thousands of people attend the live stream, but I combined the 3 days into 2 days. So it's like drinking through a fire hose for 18 hours, but I don't sell anything there. And so, if you text rodlive, RODLIVE, to 72345, and then use the code RODFRIEND, right now you can come for $47, but that price is about to go up. This probably won't go live in time for that, but that'll be $97, less than a meal. And you can come spend 18 hours with me, and I don't sell anything. So it's kind of a duh, if you're serious about this business at all. And I've never had a complaint, knock on wood. The only complaint I've ever had is that the breaks are too short, because I do 15-minute breaks every couple hours. And trust me, they're harder on me than they are on you watching or listening. So anyway, so you're going to write down everything you want to learn in this lifetime, foreign language, again, multifamily, for God's sakes, come see me, but whatever it is, write that down. Lastly, write down who you want to help. Okay, we will do more for others than we'll ever do for ourselves. Since you want to use this, again, all of this is the fuel. That's what we're doing here, is we're creating a burning desire, like Napoleon Hill talks about in his book, Think and Grow Rich. You've got to have a burning desire to push through that fear, to push through those limiting beliefs, to get uncomfortable. Maybe you're comfortable, and the comfort zone's a warm place, but nothing freaking grows there, right? So you've got to get out of it. And so that's why we do this. And so you've got your, let's see, where was I now? You're listing all these things, the things you want to do, be, or have. You're listing what you want to learn, and who you want to help. Like I bought my parents a house here on a canal when my dad was alive, bought them a car, took them on cruises. So make sure you write down who you're going to help. All right. And if you're analytical, which is very possible, on this show, you're analytical, don't stop and analyze your answers, your goals. Just keep writing. Don't let the pen leave the paper. You can always scratch stuff out later, but don't lose your momentum. And then once you're done, you need to put a time limit on each goal. This is the next step. You want to put how many years it's going to take you to achieve it. So just put a 1, a 3, a 5, even a 10 or a 20, okay? Recognizing that as human beings, we will overestimate what we can do in a year and massively underestimate what we can do in 5, 10, or 20 years, okay? Put a time limit. And in fact, I'll give you a great example of this. When I was 18, I lived in Denver, but I knew I always wanted to live on a beach, okay? I'd visualize the palm trees and the ocean and the sand and all of that. And 20 years later, I built this incredible 10,000 square foot, $8 million mansion on the beach where I owned the beach on one side. I had my boats on the backside. It was called a Gulf to Bay. It was like a slice through an island. Spectacular. But that was unthinkable when I was 18. So again, take the lid off your brain. Just go for it. Whatever it is, write it down. Don't limit yourself. All right. So you put a time limit on each goal, how many years it's going to take you to achieve it. Now I want you to pick your number one goal. I mean, that goal when you get it, like, oh my God, this is amazing. That goal, you've arrived when you achieve that goal. Now, if there's 2 or 3 that are equally exciting for you, just pick one. It won't matter for this next piece of this, but pick one for sure. Then pick your top 3 one-year goals. Okay, pick your top 3 one-year goals. Put them all on a separate sheet of paper. Now, if you DM me and I give you my guide, it's all laid out there for you. But if you didn't, then leave some room in between the goals because you're going to write some stuff underneath each goal. And at this point, you are ahead of 99.9% of the people on the planet that do New Year's resolutions, that 70% of which are forgotten by February. So you're already way ahead, but we're going to do a couple more quick steps that are critical. The goals are important. They will drive you. They will push you. They will pull you, but it's why the goals are an absolute must that you have to define. So you need to write down for each one of those goals why it has to happen. Okay. So and use emotionally charged words. Words are incredibly powerful. So you want to use them to do this. And so you might say, so I can show my wife what amazing success looks like. So I can show my kids what it means to live an incredible life of abundance so that, we can have the freedom to do anything we want, to go where we want, to bring wherever we want, to do it whenever we want, whatever's going to juice you, write it down. Okay. And again, use emotionally charged words. Words are very powerful. But then once you've got a positive reason why each goal is a must, I want you to put some pain in there and make it hurt if you don't achieve the goal. You might say, so I don't fail my children. So I don't fail my husband or wife. So I don't feel like a failure. So I don't live a life of regret. So why do we do this? Because as human beings, we will do more to avoid pain than gain pleasure. And you need this fuel to get off your butt, to get up early, to stay up late, to do whatever it takes to make this happen for yourself. Okay. So, put on there. So I don't live a life of regret. Don't overthink all of this, guys. Don't overthink all of this. Just, put some whys down there, but here's why you want some negative reasons why. And I'll give you a great example of this. There was this nurse in Australia. She was a hospice nurse. And so she took care of patients when they were about to die, right? Well, she asked him a question, Todd. And the question was, do you have any regrets? And she wrote a book about it. It's called The 5 Regrets of Dying. Her name was Bronnie Ware. You know what the number one regret was? It was not living the life I could have lived, living someone else's life, not doing what I know I'm capable of. Guys, screw that. We do not want that. And this is what prevents that from happening. Because if you do all this and you get associated with your burning desire and you live a few years like most people won't, you'll live the rest of your life like most people can't. Okay. That's why this is so freaking important. The last piece is you must get pictures of your goals and make declarations. And let me give you some examples. A great example is Jim Carrey, the actor, in Mask, the funny actor. Back when he was broke, he wrote himself a check for $10 million. And he used to go by the Hollywood sign and he'd look at it and he'd visualize cashing it. And that's how much money he made for Dumb and Dumber. I'll give you a more recent example. Demi Lovato, the singer. When she was an unknown like 10, 11 years ago. She posted on social media, I'm going to sing the national anthem in the Super Bowl. Not this last one, the one before. Go see who sang it. I'll give you some personal examples for me. When I was 18, I got my broker's license and I was going to sell other people's houses, right? So I figured I had to have a 4-door car so people could get in and out of the car easy. And so I bought this bone ugly Ford Granada, piece of crap, bench seat in the front. But I figured that's what I had to have. But I worked with a guy who had a Corvette, actually had 2 Corvettes, and let me drive one. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I got a picture of a Corvette out of a magazine. This is before you could spell internet, and put it on the visor of my bone ugly Granada. So every time I sat in the car, it was right there in front of me. Within a year or two, I had a beautiful Corvette. And I'll give you a couple more examples. But like the house and the examples I'm going to give you, I'm not bragging here. In fact, this stuff doesn't even interest me anymore. But I just want to hopefully inspire you to what's possible. Okay. I know you're here to get technical knowledge, and I'm here to tell you this is way freaking more important than that. Okay. Again, this is how I had 50 million to lose. And how I got back to the success that I enjoy today was using this technology that I'm sharing with you here. And that's really what it is. Okay. It's not foo-foo stuff. This is what works. Okay. Yeah. So I had the Corvette. And this is back when the TV show Magnum PI was out there. It was before you were born, Todd, but it was a detective show with Tom Selleck. And he is the first time I saw an exotic car, because he drove this Ferrari 308. And I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. So I got a picture of that actual car, put on the visor of my Corvette. Within a year or two, I had a Maserati look just like it. Last example. I'm the guy that always wanted a Lamborghini. Okay. I had pictures of them, posters in my room growing up and everything else. And what's interesting is my son collected models of exotic cars, and he had a model of the exact same color and style Lamborghini that I got, which I ultimately wrecked. But anyway, get pictures. In fact, I'll show you something here, because you do this on YouTube. Yes.
Yeah.
This is my planner. In the back of this thing, I use a paper planner. Yes, I'm a dinosaur. In the back of this thing, I have pictures that have been in here for 20 years. They're in plastic. Okay. Now, the first pictures are my gratitude pictures. These are pictures of my kids when they were young. My kids are 30 and 26 now. So this is a long time ago. But here's why these are in here. Because everything you manifest in your life happens through gratitude. Okay. That's the emotion you have to use to get this stuff. Okay. And so they're my gratitude pictures. Then I've got pictures of the things that I want and this top picture looks just like the house on the beach. This is before I built it. I had 10-foot high glass like that was butt together, had travertine floors like that, looks just like it. Now I lost that house and all the craziness. Okay. But I live in a compound now. I've got 6 buildings. I've got a media building, an exercise facility that's off the chain. I've got a theater room. I've got, a big giant main house, 2-bedroom guest house, a 6 cars garage. I mean, it's a 2-acre compound. Now, what's fascinating is, well, first of all, what's funny is because God's got a sense of humor, I can see my old house across the bay that I lost. It's literally right out my backyard. And then I've got, let's see, watches. I've got a few $100,000 worth of watches that I've gotten over the years. There's the Lamborghini before I ever got it. Okay. Rolls Royce, Bentley, all this stuff that I got. Again, stuff that you may not have any interest in, but I got all this stuff because I had pictures. So go out, get pictures, put them around you, put them on the wall, put them on your screensaver, put them in your planner if you use a paper planner like this, because they freaking work. All right, I'll get off my soapbox. I'm all done.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing all that. And it's really, really powerful stuff. And I can see why. I can imagine people come into your, boot camp or something, and they think they're going to learn about real estate, and you start talking about goals, they might be surprised, but
if they know me, that's what, my podcast just broke 11 million downloads. And the reason is I talk about mindset. Every week I do a clip called Own Your Power. It's 5 minutes. And even if you're not actively doing real estate, if you come join me, it's called Lifetime Cash Flow. If you put real estate in your iPhone, it usually podcast app in your iPhone usually comes up number 1 or 2, but I'll juice you. Give me 5 minutes a week and I'll get you motivated for the week. And I'm really proud of that. People don't remember what you said, but they remember how you made them feel. And that's my goal is to make you feel and look in the mirror and become better. And so, it's just an important piece of what I do and frankly, what I love. And so there's hundreds of them there on my podcast. Anyway, and then the other thing is it works. I've got coaching students. I've only been teaching 3.5 years, maybe a little over 3.5 years. I've got my students now own over 45,000 doors in a little over 3.5 years, which is unbelievable. I'm massively proud of it. And when my green screen went up, I'm sure you saw all these thank you cards behind me on the wall. I've got hundreds of thank you cards from students, which is why I loved it. I mean, I love what I do. I mean, truly, that's why I was up till 10 o'clock talking to a group last night. I mean, I just freaking love it. So
let's take a brief break to thank our sponsor. And when we return, Rod and I will be discussing some of the challenges people deal with when it comes to their multifamily mindset, and then also overcoming analysis paralysis and taking that first step. And finally, how to switch your mindset from a regular job or being a single family investor to being a multifamily entrepreneur. So stay tuned. Cashflow Portal helps you accelerate capital raising and connect with investors. Use their software for free until you close your first deal. No credit card required, no strings attached, just sign up and start raising capital. Go to cashflowportal.com and tell them you're coming from Apartment Investor Pro to get an additional 3 months free. With Cashflow Portal, you get equity raising, distribution calculator, co-sponsor invitation, and a lot more. Remember, go to cashflowportal.com and mention you heard about them from Apartment Investor Pro and get 3 months free. So what are some challenges that you've seen people deal with when it comes to mindset and, with multifamily investing?
Sure. Limiting beliefs is a big one. Okay. It's like when I immigrated this country, I didn't speak English. I got thrown into school, found out what bullies were for the first time. Got my butt kicked on a regular basis. In fact, and then my mom, God bless her, proud Dutch woman that she is, thought it'd be a great idea to send me to school in wooden shoes for show and tell. And those leather shorts the Germans wear for Oktoberfest called Lederhosen. Got my butt kicked again. Then the bullies had chased me home and she chased them off with a fly swatter. So you can imagine how that went the next day. And then stuff that happened to me on the playground, rejection and things that have happened to everybody caused me to believe that I wasn't good enough. In fact, I used to ask a question of myself, how can I show them I'm good enough? And, and what I had to do, and so many people have these limiting beliefs. I'm too young. I'm too old. I'm not smart enough. I'm not analytical enough. I don't have enough money, whatever. And there's a reason that the acronym for belief systems is BS, because 99.9% of them are. We've had these emotional events happen to us that our mind thinks is factual and they have no basis in fact. So, if you have one of these, if you're listening and you have some fear of failure or I can't get anything right or whatever you're telling, these stories that you're telling yourself, I would encourage you to pull that crap out into the daylight, look at it with your adult rational mind, recognize that it's BS and start to diminish it. Now, you can't do it overnight, but every time it pops up, you consciously pull it out, you look at it and recognize if anybody rejects me, they either don't know me or they're up, excuse me, but that's the bottom line. That's the mindset I had to adopt for me personally. Okay. Now, and so that's what you need to do. And I used to be incredibly introverted. I mean, I wouldn't raise my hand in class, terrified that I'd be embarrassed or humiliated. Now I speak in front of thousands of people a year because I've taken the time to consciously recognize that there's nothing wrong with me. I'm a freaking gift from God, just like every one of you listening is. And so, take a look at that. And if you've got some of that BS belief system in your system, just deal with it because you can absolutely turn it around. I'm living proof of that. Yeah. And then, the other thing is that fear of failure. And I'm going to tell you, fear regret much more than failure. Like I just gave you the example with Bronnie Ware. I got to meet the billionaire owner of Spanx, Sarah Blakely. She started with so that's a women's undergarment thing. They wear under their clothes. She started with $5,000 and now she's worth like 3 or 4 billion. Beautiful human being, by the way. Anyway, but I met her at a mastermind that I belong to, which is another topic we can talk about. But she told me that her dad used to ask her and her brother every week, what have you failed at this week? And I thought, what an incredibly awesome freaking question to ask your kids so they don't fear failure, right? I wish I'd have known that when my kids were impressionable enough to give them that one. But anyway, but back to the mastermind piece. Let me expand on that as well, because I think it'll add value. So I never went to college, okay? And in fact, if you make me a co-host, I'll share a picture on here that I think your listeners or viewers would enjoy seeing. But see, I never went to college but I'm extremely well read and and I believe in events and boot camps. So let me share a picture here. This is a picture of some of the lanyards from the boot camps that I've gone to. Okay. There's a couple hundred here, and I've got a lot more. And of course I'm sneaking in the Bentley and the expensive Benz behind me here, but just to brag a little bit. But the point in this is there's 2 points. Number one, learners are earners. Okay. Constantly keep learning. But number 2 is I go to a lot of masterminds because I want to be around people that think what I think is hard is easy. Right? A rising tide lifts all ships. Now, I happen to host the largest multifamily mastermind, I'm pretty sure in the world at this point. We've got like 14 billion in assets represented by the members. And again, I did it because I want to be around people that think what I think is hard is easy. And so, so peer group, let's talk about peer group for a second, because you show me your 3 closest friends, I'll show you who you are. Okay. And who you're going to be. There's no question, because of the incredible influence that the people you have close to you have on your life. And so many people will default to people they went to school with or people they work with. And that's a mistake. You need to proactively pick the people to hang out with. Now, I which is one of the reasons my mentorship program is killing it, because I'm very selective. I turn people down. If I get a hint of ego or narcissism, there's no way I'll take them. But everybody there is motivated and wants to help each other. And, like I said, that's why they have 40. And most of these deals, those 45,000 units were done between warriors. It's astounding. But the point is, get in a group like that. Okay. By the way, if you're interested in that warrior group, text the word crush to 72345. That's crush to 72345. And you can apply to join. And it's a 2-way application. I mean, we're going to check you out and you're going to check us out. And if it's a fit, fantastic. If it's not, you'll leave the call better than you started. I will tell you that. But that's for our warrior mentorship program. But the bottom line is, regardless of that, obviously that costs money. So if you want to just join a local real estate group or something like that, I also have a Facebook group. That's the largest multifamily Facebook group in the world. There's 42,000 people in there. If you want to go there, it's called Multifamily Real Estate Investing -Rod Khleif. But if you go to multifamilycommunity.com, it's a direct link to that group. We don't allow any promotion whatsoever. And it's just an educational platform. So again, wherever you go, get around people that want more, people that are going to hold you accountable, people that aren't going to be afraid of your success, people that aren't going to hold you back because of their fear, their jealousy, their fear of losing you even, their fear of being embarrassed if you're a success. And these are all common fears in people and peers, and sometimes they're family. And so I would say love your family, but proactively choose your peers. Okay. Who you allow to influence you.
And I'm sure you've noticed this too, that a lot of people, they kind of get addicted to learning. Maybe they go to events, they buy books and things like that, but some never take action. What do you think?
Analysis paralysis, because they have perfection, especially analytical people have to check off every freaking box before they, and I will tell you, my most successful students are the most analytical, and they're the hardest to get to pull the trigger to come join us because they have to check off every freaking box. So I'm just going to, let me speak to them for a moment. There's the law of the first step. Like Dr. Martin Luther King said, you take that first step in faith and the next step will be revealed. Lao Tzu, thousands of years ago, said the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And that first step is always the hardest. It's same with the first deal. First deal is always the hardest. I find my students that, they're like 8 months before they get their first deal and they get it. And the next thing I know, they've got 6. It's like, the first deal is the hardest, the most stressful, takes the longest. But then after that, they're like freaking dominoes. So, but you got to take that first step, guys. So you know who you are listening. You've got to push through that fear. You don't have to know it all. You can drive all the way across the country at night, seeing 50 feet in front of you. And yeah, you may have some obstacles, but you'll make it because other people have made it. It's the same way with multifamily real estate. It's the same way with any goal. You're never going to know everybody, see everything to get through it. I can tell you, we've done some big deals that we had to move immediately on. I remember an asset in Dallas, 208 doors, that we found out about it. The contract was about to expire. The guy was about to lose his earnest money. We moved immediately. Within 24 hours, we renegotiated it. That asset has grown in value $8, $9, $10 million. And it's 100% occupied all the time. But if we had to stop and know everything about every person involved, know everything about the asset before we took action, we would have never gotten the deal. so sometimes you have to move and then clean up as you go and learn as you go. And it's the same thing in this business. And again, you know who you are listening. So I would encourage you to take action immediately. Now, let me say something else. So I was mentioning my two, did I already talk about my boot camp and give the code and stuff? I forgot.
I think you might have.
So I said, so go to rodlive, text rodlive to 72345, and then use the code RODFRIEND. And if you do that, you can come for $97. And again, I don't sell anything. It's 18 hours of training, drinking through a freaking fire hose. I will tell you that. But yeah, I did mention it now that I remember. So I forgive me. I talk so much. I went to a boot camp, an event last night, and sometimes these conversations run through my head from previous anyway.
Yeah. So you have some certain habits that you think have contributed to you having the right mindset, the things that you do?
Sure. Yeah. Good question. Yeah, actually, most mornings, almost every morning, I will sit in that recliner you saw. And so what I'll do is I'll sit in that chair and I will just do gratitude. I'll do gratitude for my amazing, beautiful wife. I'll do gratitude for my kids. I'll do gratitude for my coaching students, for my foundation. And I'll just do gratitude. And then what I'll do is I'll do gratitude for the things that I want as if I already have them. And and I'll look at those vision boards sometimes, but I'll just be grateful and I'll look at that stuff and as if I already have it with gratitude. And sometimes I'll even get emotional saying thank you for things I don't even have yet. And I know that sounds crazy, but I'm here to tell you that it works. And again, I'm sure I lost some of you analytical ones with this, but oh God, that's too foofy for me. Well, there's a reason I have what I have, and that's not ego. It's because I do these things that I'm telling you about. I'm no smarter than anybody. In fact, I'm not analytical at all, which is a fault of mine because I move too quickly. So I have to align with people that are, my partners have all been super analytical, CPAs, et cetera. And so, I'm not the detail guy, but the success is there because I take the time to manifest it and visualize it and make it happen.
Yeah. And you mentioned that it's not, maybe some of the analytical might be skeptical of that, but there is science behind it though too. I mean, I don't know, you maybe have read like psychocybernetics, for example, or even like Miracle Morning and
Sure. I've had Hal on my show. Awesome. Super nice guy. Yeah. Miracle Morning is fantastic. What you do when you get up in the morning, you exercise, you journal, you pray or meditate, you do all these things that set your day off right. I wish I was more diligent about that because it's so freaking powerful.
Yeah, it is. And I think the results speak for themselves too, that it does work. It does.
I've got a student that's done it for, I think 3 years straight. He now has over 2,000 doors. He had, I think 50 when he first joined us. He did a complex that was in big trouble, but he's turned it around with our help. But the point is, it absolutely works. So,
Yeah, I think you're not going to find very many people that are really successful that don't do at least some of those things on a regular basis. So.
Sure.
And what would you say for people that maybe, when you're getting started with something like this, you get excited, that can keep you motivated for a while, but then sometimes when you get into the work of it, it's like that motivation kind of drops off.
You got to have the pictures around you of the things that you want. You need to focus on them. You need to have a vision board. I've got vision boards for all the different things that I want. You need to reassociate with those goals on a regular basis. Grant Cardone talks about writing them in the morning and in the evening to reassociate. It's a great idea. If you find yourself lagging, go watch my goal setting workshop and go through that again. If you find yourself lagging, because you've got to have that burning desire. That's what's going to get your butt up to make things happen. And like I said, don't end up at the end of your life like so many people do with regret. This life is not a dress rehearsal. Okay. So, I think Buddha said, you think you have time, right? So, yeah.
So do you have any resources that you use on a regular basis, like books that are
I've given away thousands of copies of Think and Grow Rich because at my live events, everybody got a copy in the past. And hopefully I'll start doing live events again in January. But because that's a book you should read a couple times a year. It's got so many incredible distinctions in it. My love language is gifts. And there's a book called The 5 Love Languages. In fact, I just had the author on the show, which was a real treat for me because I've given away thousands of his books too. But my love language is giving gifts. So I give my students lots of gifts. And so I'll give you some examples. One of them is the book, The Slight Edge, about those little decisions you make every day that trajectory your life up or down. Another one is Turning Pro by Pressman, about stop being an amateur and become a professional, and treat your business like you're a professional instead of an amateur. The One Thing, Gary Keller's book, fantastic. The founder of Keller Williams. I had his co-author on the show, which was a real treat too, Jay Papasan. So that's a great book. I keep going. There's a few. Yeah,
those are awesome. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing those. And so, like with that idea of kind of ramping up a business, like what do you think? What can somebody do then to like massively and quickly ramp up a business to success? Then, if they're maybe getting started, or
well, there are steps. Obviously, the first step is you clearly define what it is you want and why you want it. The next step is you make a decision. And I don't mean you dip one toe in the water. I mean, it is freaking done. Okay. That you're doing it. And, the Latin root for the word decision means to cut off, you cut off any chance of escape. If you're going to attack the island, you burn your ships because you're taking their damn ships back. Right. So that's a decision. It's done. You're 100% committed. Then you've got to plan. What's your plan going to be? You've got to have an idea for how you're going to achieve it. Are you going to get some help? Are you going to get a coach or a mentor? You're just going to do training and do it on your own. Coach or mentor, basically you do that to pay for speed. You can do like this multifamily business. You can do it in 5 to 7 years on your own, no problem. If you want to do it in 2 or 3 years, you go see someone like me, get in my Warrior program, and you pay for speed, and the results are there. They speak for themselves. But you come up with a plan. Now, one of the things that we do is we give our students a complete action plan, step by step, what you need to do. But actually, I have a book now. I have my book. When I first started my podcast, I wrote this thing and I gave away 20,000 free copies. Finally literally put it on Amazon like in the last week. It's really funny. Now I give it away for free if you pay the shipping and handling. It's $25 on Amazon, but I don't have the link for that, unfortunately. But if you DM me, I'll hook you up. If you DM me, I'll get you the book. But it comes with a free course, a companion course for the book that goes through the chapters. Actually got my goal setting workshop on the companion course as well, a dated version. That was one I did that 3 years ago. Should probably redo it. But anyway, it's still good. You'll get tons of value. And some other books that I've written come with it. But the reason I brought that up, because to answer your question, it's got a 90-day action plan in the back of it. I just added it. So, it's action plan week by week, what you should do in this business. So, there you go. If you DM me, I'll get you access to that free link where you can just pay for the shipping and you get it along with all the other stuff.
And so what would you say, like somebody coming from maybe a background where they've had a job all their life and now they're thinking of getting into real estate investing, that job to entrepreneur mindset shift? What do you,
Well, it's an important shift, and you've got to take off the employee hat and put on the entrepreneur hat and recognize when 5 o'clock rolls around, you may just be getting going. Okay. You're not going home, or if you're at home and working, an entrepreneur works till they're done. They're like a shark. They only die if they stop moving. You got to keep moving. But again, if you're willing to grind for a few years, like most people won't, you live the rest of your life like 99% of the world can't. And it's so freaking worth it. So.
Yeah. Awesome. And then what about like coming from single family to multifamily? That's kind of another.
It's a very, very common progression. And I've owned 2,000 houses. It took me 2,000 to get the freaking memo that I shouldn't have done houses. I should have done multifamily, be on the back of my yacht right now. And so, it's funny. I've interviewed some of the top, if not the top, multifamily operators on the planet. People with 100,000 units, 20,000, lots with 20 and 10,000 doors, billionaires. And I always try to ask this question, if I remember, and that is, knowing what you know now, what would you do? What would you tell your 18-year-old self? It's that common question, but I ask it because I know what the answer is almost every time, which is go bigger, faster, i.e. multifamily. Okay. So I think without question, it's the most resilient asset class. Without question, I think it's the best asset class. God help you if you're in retail and office right now with COVID and everything. And, and I do like mobile home parks, and I actually like self-storage as well, but I like multifamily the best because you have protections from the government. People need a place to live. I don't know if I answered your question or not.
Yeah, no, that's great. And we're almost out of time. So any final thoughts on mindset, anything that you really want people to take to heart?
Just listen. If you're still struggling with this, come listen to my podcast. Come, if you can come to if you're serious about multifamily, so you must be, if you're watching and listening to Todd here, just come spend 2 days with me. I will juice you. I will help you create an identity statement for yourself, because there's no greater force in human psyche than the need to remain consistent with how we identify ourselves. So you'll create an identity statement. You'll be clear on your goals and your whys, and you'll have the blueprint to go do this business and push through fear. And you'll have an incredible peer group to hang out with and learn from as well. So, that would be my final word. I mean, it's self-serving, but I don't care if you learn from me, just go learn, bottom line. But here's why, because this business is a team sport and you have to be competent. Once you're competent, you'll have confidence. And once you have confidence, you'll have the ability to influence people. And that's what you're going to need to succeed in this business. You'll be influencing brokers, sellers, potential investors. So again, I don't care if you learn from me, but for $97 or $57, depending on how fast you get to it, it's kind of a no-brainer. So,
yeah. Awesome. And you mentioned a few different ways people can connect with you. What do you say?
Yeah. So if you're interested in the Bootcamp, text rodlive to 72345. If you're interested in my coaching program, text crush to 72345. And in either case, start listening to my podcast right away, because my podcast will help demystify and give clarity to the content I'll be covering and the program and everything. So do that for sure. But my website is Rod Khleif, but nobody can spell my name. So just go to Real Estate with Rod, and it's a direct link to my website. And the reason that's important is because I've got lots of free resources there. I've got books and videos, articles, and you just get a tremendous amount of information just from the website. So.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks so much for sharing all that today. It was really powerful stuff. Mindset. I don't think you can overestimate how important it is. So appreciate you coming on.
No, it's my pleasure, buddy. My energy's a little down. I didn't get much sleep last night, so hopefully I didn't come out too much. But
yeah, no, it's great.
I'm at about 60%, I think. So, but I hope you feel like you got some value. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, appreciate that. Thanks a lot. Do you need help getting your mind right or keeping it there? Well, we all need to adjust our thinking sometimes, and starting and running a business can be overwhelming at times. That's why we've put together a free checklist for you called Checklist to Keep Your Mind Right. It contains some powerful habits that you need to be successful. Plus, I include some specific resources that you can read or listen to when you need to readjust your mindset or want to boost. Download it for free at apartmentinvestorpro.com/mindset. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Apartment Investor Pro podcast. Be sure to subscribe to get the latest episodes. Also, visit our website at apartmentinvestorpro.com and connect with us.